We are going to talk about the Association of Science Communicators and our conference, Science Talk. We're going to be discussing how we've gotten where we are today. And I want to share my journey so far in working with Science Talk from its beginnings when I became a part to it becoming the Association of Science Communicators, and where we're going, where we're going to be hopefully in the future, and some challenges and lessons that I hope will be useful for other people who are looking at endeavoring to start a nonprofit community, endeavoring to start a conference, an ongoing event, any kind of thing like this that we are all working on. So if you have questions as we're going, feel free to ask in the chat or pop up on screen. I do want to make this kind of open-ended, but I guess it's kind of easy to tell the story and then talk a bit about it at the end. So whatever works for everybody. I'm very, very easygoing. So as Fenwell said, I do a lot of things. My major emphasis for years has been science communication through podcasting and new media. New media isn't really new media anymore. It's kind of just media at this point in time. So This Week in Science has been my labor of love for many years. That's also opened the doors for me to be able to do a lot more in terms of science communication, science education, science writing. And so I've worked on video production. I have hosted television, commented, been a contributor on television shows, Science Channel, lots of video networks. And I'm still looking at doing more podcasting projects and other things. But around about 2017, I moved, or it was 2015 actually, that I moved to Portland, Oregon from the San Francisco Bay Area. And in moving from Portland to San Francisco to Portland, I lost contact with kind of my SciComm community, the people who I could maybe go have coffee with and connect with. And I was looking around and I'm like, is there anybody who does science communication in Portland? What's happening here? And so I started looking to see who was around, and I found an announcement for a conference that was Science Talk Northwest. And Science Talk Northwest was going to be held at the end of January in 2017. And here it was about mid-2016. And I sent an email to the founder, Allison Coffin, who works as a professor at Washington State University. And I said, hi, I've moved here and I would like to talk to you. And she said, hey, you want to be a keynote at our conference? And so I said, yes. And I got to keynote or be one of the keynotes at the very first science communication conference, Science Talk Northwest, which was held at the Portland OMSI, Oregon's Museum of Science and Industry. It was sold out. We had about 150 people. And at that point, I was just a speaker and I went, wow, look at this. There's all these people and they are finding community. They are learning more about best practices in science communication. They're learning from the experiences of others. And it's been a really long time since I've had this kind of experience connecting with other science communicators. I've been a member of the National Science Writers Association, really great organization that is also working in the science communication area, but has traditionally been focused on science writing. And I didn't feel like I quite fit completely with the Science Writers Association because I was doing podcasting and video production and all these other different things. And this last year, I came across a science communicator from England, Peter Brock, and he has written a couple of blog posts that struck me about what he calls the science communication baggy monster. And the science communication baggy monster is this idea that they're all the things that we do in science communication. They don't have a really strict discipline. There's a lot that we do, and it's really hard. We don't have key frameworks that hold it all together yet. We don't have common language that ties it all together yet. Science communication can be just about anything. And that's how I feel and how I have felt for a really long time. I am a science communication baggy monster. And I went, oh my gosh, there have got to be so many other baggy monsters out there too. And I saw that in Science Talk. And so I said, okay, I want to be a part of it. And in jumping into being a part of Science Talk Northwest, we started talking about how a few people were coming from other parts of the country. And so the strategy started to be, let's not just focus on the Pacific Northwest, we can be a national organization. And so Science Talk Northwest became Science Talk, just Science Talk. And it was a conference. And then we were like, okay, great. We're doing this conference annually, and we're going to bring science communicators together from all over the country. And we moved to a bigger conference center here in Portland, Oregon. We've always stayed focused in Portland so far. The conference center was a little bit big for where we were at the time, but again, it was like this really great energy bringing people together. And I don't know if anybody ever went to the Science Online conferences back in the kind of early mid 2000s, but the conference was really hitting this feeling that I used to get from the community that I found at the Science Online conferences, which was really people who weren't just science writers, but had all sorts of other ways of communicating science coming together. And it just, the energies, it's just really started hitting. And I started really thinking that this needed to be even more than just a conference. And so strategically as an organization, we started working together to start offering more things. But everybody just continued to think of us as Science Talk, the conference. So we did this great conference for a couple of years. The second year, third year in person, second year as Science Talk, we ended up at the Tiffany Center, which is where we've been in person ever since. Great conference, great group of people, great lineup. Again, wonderful stuff. But then the pandemic happened. And in the onset of the pandemic, we realized that we could not be in person in March of 2020. And the conference was going to be canceled. And that really was hard to consider, that we were just going to go back to everybody and say, sorry, no conference, no speakers. You don't get to connect with your community. We've got nothing for you this year. And so I realized that I had the knowledge from working in years of online streaming, podcasting, and video production, which really is kind of like This Week in Science. I've been doing like a weekly online live streaming event for years and years. And I said, we can do this. I know how to do this. We can figure this out. And with about 3.5 weeks to spare, we polled our community. We asked for their input on how we should move forward. We decided on a platform, a new platform, actually. It was called Crowdcast, I think is the name of it. We don't use that platform anymore, but it was a platform that we chose that worked well that year. And we were able to bring people together online when people were quarantining, when people were afraid. We were one of the very first conferences at the onset of the pandemic to flip to virtual and be able to bring everyone together. And I am just so proud of our team for being able to do that, because I think it really helped our community as a whole, being able to begin the pandemic with that kind of connection. So we moved from this just virtual 2020, 2021, we have optimism and we're like, maybe we could go back to the Tiffany Center. No, pandemic, still going. So yet again, we did a virtual conference. 2022, optimism again. We've got vaccines, we've got masks, we've got all these things. And can we come back together? Yes. we moved back to the Tiffany Center, but we knew that we couldn't give up on the virtual connection that we had started engaging on over the last couple of years. And so we had the online platform that we started using, which is called Whova. We still use it. It was used for our second virtual conference. We used it last year for our hybrid conference, and we're using it once again for 2023. So Whova is a great platform. There are lots of other platforms like it that offer really great services for online, in-person, or hybrid events. And I'm happy to talk about the pros and cons of a lot of these different services. But it was amazing to bring people back together again. Downside, a lot less people were really able to come in person, but those who did, we really were able to connect. It was a lot of great conversations. We saw that people wanted to network a lot more than they wanted to sit in the auditorium and watch some of our sessions. We learned a lot of lessons last year from the hybrid model about live streaming presentations and when to have live presentations, when to have online presentations. And we can talk a bit more about those lessons if you have questions about that in a few minutes. But to move on from this hybrid form that we had at the end of the conference last year, we announced that Science Talk was going to be rebranding as the Association of Science Communicators. And you might ask, why did we decide to do that? Why do we need to be rebranded from Science Talk into this association? Well, we had a branding problem. So when we tried to tell people who we were, people were like, oh yeah, you're that conference, or I think there's a podcast called Science Talk out there. Is that you? Or oh, you teach scientists how to communicate science. And the reality was, yeah, we did a conference, but that's not all we were. We were starting to have an online community year round. We were starting to create and promote courses that people could take in science writing, in podcasting, in video production, in freelancing. We were starting to make a lot more resources available to our community and build the community of practice that we really, really are hoping for. That is not just scientists communicating science. It's not just science writers. It is the community of professionals who communicate science, professional science communicators. And we needed to create a member organization that would allow people to take advantage of this growing profession, to put it on their CV, to be part of a professional organization, and to take advantage of a lot of benefits that a professional member organization can offer. And so now, the last year, 2022, we've been rebranding. We've got a new website. We have changed a lot of our social media. And you might be asking, okay, what happened to Science Talk? Well, Science Talk is a great conference. So Science Talk is still our conference. ASC is the professional organization. The Association of Science Communicators is here for the professional science communication community, and we produce the Science Talk conference every year. And so this is the way it's going to work moving forward. And this will hopefully allow us also internally a little bit better delineation of roles and the ability to more efficiently and effectively produce the content and the events that we want to be producing. So from all this and how I've kind of been involved in making this work through the years, I feel like I've been working on it for a little bit now. 2017 to 23, we're coming up on 6 years, 7 years almost, and we have grown quite a lot. The organization has grown, our reputation has grown. We keep working at building our volunteer base so that we can make things happen. But the challenges of what we do for the conference, for the organization as a whole, is that we're still completely volunteer run. And this comes with a whole host of its own issues. Volunteers have limited time, limited energy, and also limited interest. So you have to find ways to engage people in particular projects and get people involved for the time that they're available and make it valuable to them. This is a big challenge. We have visions. Allie and I are constantly going back and forth on like, we could do this. We could do this thing. We'll take over the world with science community. Yeah. Let's let reality come in. How much time do we have in a day? How many people do we actually have ready to help us in what we're doing? And then how much money do we have? There are big considerations when it comes to the buckets of money that are available for organizations like ours. Science communication is an underfunded endeavor, generally. Science communication is being looked at. There are foundations, there are organizations that are trying to figure out ways to make it more sustainable, because it's definitely to the benefit of society if science is communicated effectively and engagingly. And I don't have to tell you about all these things, but there are only a limited number of buckets of money. So how do you get access to the funders? How do you find sponsors who are interested in the thing that you're trying to do? And so this has also been a part of the rebranding from Science Talk to the Association of Science Communicators. We've gone from the fun, funky little startup conference to now growing an organization that is not just national, but international, with the goal of supporting society through a network of professionals who are doing this work. And so this has a better ring to it for people who are philanthropists, people who are interested in the money and funding side of things. And then we have, the question of how much do you charge for events? What do you charge for an in-person event versus a virtual event? How many people do we think we're going to come? How many people can we get to take a course? How can we fund this organization in an ongoing, sustainable manner? It's a huge challenge. And it's one of the big questions that I know a lot of nonprofits come up against. And I'm sure, Fanuel, you have your own challenges and your own solutions in this department as well. In terms of the conference itself, the challenges there have become increasingly complex. It went from being a conference that took place in a single room with just a series of speakers that were lined up for a day, and moved now to a hybrid conference in which we have virtual presenters, we have live in-person presenters, we have virtual audience, we have live in-person audience. In a sense, it creates not just 2 conferences, but 3, because you've got the virtual conference, you've got the live conference, and you've got the conference as a whole. And so the complexity of managing all the moving parts that are involved in a hybrid conference cannot be understated. And I mentioned also the challenge of communicating who we are. So now, hopefully, we're going to be communicating who we are more solidly so that people understand who we're trying to help. We want to be also a community of science communicators who are helping science communicators, right? So the organizers of Science Talk now ask, we're all science communicators. We are science communicators. This is a passion of ours. And we want to help the community. And we want to help the community grow by developing that passion and also developing the profession so that there's a pathway at some point. And perhaps not everybody will be a baggy monster in the future. I don't know, but maybe everybody wants to be a baggy monster. Join me in the Baggy Monster Club. In the lessons side of things, we have a lot of lessons that we've learned for sure over the last several years, at least that I've learned. And my take homes from this are, in the volunteers that are coming to the organization, find your angels, find the people who have the same passion as you, find the people who have the skills, find the people who have the connections, who want to be there and put the time aside to do the work. It's going to be hard to do, and you might not be able to keep your angels forever. Everybody has, things that they want to do in their lives, and time is allocated accordingly. But when you've got the angels with you, take advantage of them, know who they are, and make sure that you give them the recognition that they deserve. Like, Bree, you're amazing. Know your audience. And this is a huge part of going from Science Talk into becoming the Association of Science Communicators. I mean, seriously, we're communicators, we're science communicators. Know your audience is one of the first lessons that you learn. It's like, I don't know, high school level science communication class, not even introductory college level. Know your audience. And here we were having difficulty finding our audience and communicating. It's always good to be able to figure out who they are. And how do you do that? You listen to your community. When your community tells you that they want something, find a way to make that happen. If your community is not happy with something, find a way to work with them so that we can solve problems. This again moves into being flexible. So if you are just rigid and you don't change and you just say, this is my organization and this is the way it's going to be, who wants to be a part of that? You're telling people what they're going to be doing, how they're going to be a part of the organization. No, you have to give people a chance to help grow the organization as well. The whole organization is a life form of its own. And so you have to be flexible enough. I mean, there are certain states that allow life to thrive or die off, right? And so you need to figure out how to have the right level of flexibility to grow your community, to grow your organization, your event, whatever it is, and have it succeed. Know you're going to make mistakes. I made so many mistakes. Our organization has made so many mistakes. This is just a fact of life. But if you understand that and then learn from them, it can allow you to iterate and become even stronger and to give your community more of what they want, to help the community become more of what it wants to be. Be transparent. This is about the mistakes. You make a mistake, own up to it. Talk about the troubles you're having. Ask for help. This is a huge issue. I mean, even within leadership roles, if you can learn to ask for help to do things that you don't know how to do, that you don't want to do, that you think other people would be better suited to, asking for help is the best way also to get people to become more engaged in the organization, the event, whatever it is that you're trying to do. When people start to help, it creates a reciprocity feedback cycle and it helps everybody. The last couple here go back to the conference. Hybrid is not just complex, it's expensive. So a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'll just do all my conferences online and it's going to be super easy and, no problem. Well, if you have all volunteer staff, nobody needs to get paid. You don't have to pay for any AV. You don't give anybody any food. No. Even moving online to do a conference online, there needs to be organization. There needs to be cohesion. You need to have a platform to bring everybody together. You need to pay for things in the same way that you need to pay for things in the real world for in-person stuff. And so hybrid is kind of doubly that because you have to pay for the local facility, the places that people are going to be, the stuff that's in person, and you have to pay for all the stuff online. So the cost goes up, sometimes exponentially. And so you have to be really, really aware of that. And then finally, I think the big lesson is you can't please everyone. When you try to please everybody, you're going to end up letting a lot more people down than if you, again, went back to knowing your audience, listening to your community, being flexible, and just understanding there will be some mistakes and not everybody is going to just completely get what you do. Not everybody is going to love the way that you're doing it, but you have to try. So I don't know, as Nike says, just do it, or, don't give up, ask for help. And we can make these things happen. We can make magic happen